name's Jacqui Daley. I'm the Deputy Chair of the Hunter Manufacturing Awards. I also separately have a marketing consultancy called The Measured Marketer, and we are the sponsor of the Excellence in Marketing category. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to talk to you today about submitting an entry or considering to submit an entry into the Hunter Manufacturing Awards. I will say our chairman of the board is here as well, Stephen Smith. He's keeping primarily on mute today, but yeah, thank you for being here, Steve.
Pleasure.
Great to have you. So just introducing some others that will be involved in the session today. We have some very special guests with us, both Brett and Tracy from Molycop. Now they were the winners last year of the Manufacturer of the Year, 50 or more employees. And we also have with us Michael Murray, who is the head judge for Hunter Manufacturing Awards. So there should be an opportunity for you to ask questions of those that live and breathe the awards. And yeah, we really look forward to making sure that any questions that you have are answered in this session. Really is very informal, so please feel free just to ask questions along the way. So what we're going to cover in the session today is just a quick overview of the 14 award categories that exist, how you go about the application process from start to finish, the application guide that exists on the website. I'll give you a quick run through on accessing that and how to best get the information that you need from it, how to plan your application response. We'll give some time to both Brett and Tracy to talk us through how they've gone about the process of submitting applications in the past. We'll hear from Murray around what the judges are looking for, and as we've mentioned as well, also a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So jumping in, I guess a question to consider when we're all busy with our day-to-day job is a little bit around why would you take the time to enter the manufacturing awards? There's a lot of people that have got a lot of responsibilities, and we understand the market at the moment. We understand what's happening in the sector. So I guess it's really around what's the value and what's the return of entering the awards. And I must say, you know, being in marketing, I can obviously see that there's a lot of benefits to taking the time to enter the awards. So obviously it boosts your company reputation, and it makes your brand and business more visible in the market. It gives your team, and I think this is really important right now, it's a big morale boost. It gives you a moment to stop and celebrate and highlight the achievements that your manufacturing business has achieved over the past 12 months. It gives the opportunity, as we were discussing at the entrance of the webinar, to strengthen relationships, to meet peers, to potentially meet mentors that are working in the sector as well. And for me, I think it's really a chance to sort of stop and define what you stand for, where you're at as a business, you know, what's happened over the last 12 months, perhaps new ways that you could have thought about things differently. It's in sort of that sitting and considering approach that you often find that new ideas will actually come to you. So I think, you know, there's a whole range of reasons that it's worthwhile in entering the awards. I know there's quite the challenge in recruitment, and businesses are short on both workforce and skills within their organisation at the moment. So sort of demonstrating your commitment to the industry, demonstrating that you're an award-winning business is certainly a way to attract talent as well. So I think that there's a number of reasons that makes this process worth the investment of time. So just moving through, very quickly, we are aware that the sector is changing and that there is a need to continue to evolve the way that the awards program works to align with manufacturing in the modern day. So over the last 2 years, COVID permitting and running a smaller program of awards last year, we've actually put a lot of time and effort with Michael leading the charge in reviewing the awards that we have, reviewing the categories that exist, and putting forward some new categories that will hopefully make it a more appealing process for you to be applying, and open up the opportunity for different kinds of manufacturing organisations to consider applying. So you can see up on the screen some of the categories that we have. We have brought back this year the Apprentice of the Year award. That particular award is sponsored by AMP Control. A new award that came into the mix 2 years ago is a Collaboration Partnership Award. Now, this is an award that's actually, that can be entered by obviously more than one organisation. It's really about demonstrating the value of a partnership that led to a positive outcome where both of the organisations or more took on the risk to develop a new manufacturing process. So that's a really exciting one, and that is sponsored by BAE Systems. Next is the Excellence in Innovation Award. I would say it's probably one of the more popular award entries that we get for the awards program. Manufacturing capability. There's a Rising Star Award as well. That's the award that we were referring earlier to that Sonia won from Armagalv last year. The Excellence in Marketing category, I think that's a fantastic category to enter, don't you think, Tracy? Sustainable Operations, there's a Startup Award. That award itself is actually, there's an additional prize that comes beyond the glory of the win, and the winner of the Startup Award actually gets an associate membership with HunterNet for 12 months if you were the winner of that category. So really great value, considering there's no entry fee to entering the manufacturing awards. It really does make it worth the time to consider entering that particular category. The other awards are the Excellence in Building Workforce Capability of the Future. Sorry, my slides are really playing up on me today. The Manufacturing Leader Award. So that is almost like within an organisation that can be nominated by somebody within the business, or the leader of the business can nominate themselves. It can be self-nominated as well. So I'd really highly recommend any of you that feel that you have a leader that's sort of really making positive impact on your organisation, on the community, on the manufacturing industry, to consider putting someone forward for that particular award. Product Design, Export and Global Supply Chain. And then one of the things that we've taken on board in terms of feedback is that we truly acknowledge that it's very different and hard to compare apples with apples when we're looking at a smaller organisation with less than 50 employees compared to those that are of a larger size with 50 or more employees. So we have broken up the Manufacturer of the Year and awarding 2 different awards for that particular category. So yeah, we hope to see some entries in those particular categories as well. To enter the Manufacturer of the Year of less than 50 employees or more than 50 employees, you do have to enter at least one other category. So you can't just go for the big one. We need to sort of see demonstrated evidence of the work that you're doing. And it is a relatively swift process to then submit a second submission for the Manufacturer of the Year award. Moving on, for those that we haven't had a lot to do with just yet, we are really aiming to make this awards program as inclusive as possible to all of the businesses in the very wide and encompassing zone that we call the Hunter region. So we've had winners in the past from the Central Coast. We welcome all of our colleagues and peers close by in Lake Macquarie, Newcastle, Port Stephens, Maitland, Cessnock, Singleton. We're hosting an event next week, actually, in the Upper Hunter to bring along our manufacturing friends in that particular area as we see that region go through significant transition. Mid-North Coast, Dungog, and all the way up to Port Macquarie. We know that there's quite a large boat building and manufacturing industry up there as well. And we certainly recommend and encourage our friends up there to be applying for the awards program. Just moving on. In terms of the time frame, so applications are now open, and it's there's a two-step process to applying. I thought a simple way to demonstrate what I'm talking about might be to actually go to the website and show you the process of applying through the site. So step one is a really simple registration form, and that just gives us at the Hunter Manufacturing Awards team a chance to understand which companies might be entering, which award categories they might be applying for. And if I'm honest, to give you a little nudge and follow up as the deadline approaches, just to check that everything's going okay and that you're going to be able to get your submission in on time. Applications close on the 19th of August, and then we've got a period between August and September where the judging takes place. We then announce the finalists in September ahead of the awards night, which is on the 28th of October this year at Nex in Newcastle. So make sure you save the date in your diary. We'd love to see you there for sure. So just moving through to the actual registration process, I might just quickly share my screen that takes us to the website. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Nailed it, Jacqui. Yes. You've got the technology well and truly under control.
I'm happy for the support and encouragement.
Yep.
So the Hunter Manufacturing Awards website, hma.org.au, you will see in the top level navigation that you can click on the registration form. Also, all of the 14 categories that we've spoken through are listed there. You can see who's won the awards in the past, get a bit of an idea as to the types of businesses that have been applying. And then, of course, all of the really special people that and businesses that we know that the awards wouldn't be able to run without. So our sponsors, partners and supporters, please get behind them where you get the opportunity to do so. We are a not-for-profit, so it's much appreciated, their support. If we have a look at the registration page, this is that really simple 5-minute form that I spoke to you about, and step one in the process, where it's effectively going in, listing the company name that you'll be applying for, a contact name. So who is going to be the primary person that if we need to get in touch with anyone around your submission, or your supplementary material hasn't come through, etc. This is just a contact point within the business. It doesn't have to be the CEO or the managing director. It can be anybody who's sort of taking the lead on the process of submitting the application. Contact details are very helpful. And then, of course, an indication on the categories that you'll be entering. So please don't be afraid to tick as many boxes as you think are relevant. If you end up, if you start with very high hopes and intend to apply for multiple categories, and then in the process decide that for whatever reason that they're not the right categories for you, that's totally fine. But some indication early up for us as to those categories you might be applying. Often at times we might find in the process that in reviewing of the submission, there might be a discussion around perhaps there could be another category that might be worth you exploring entering as well. So, having the right contact for us to interact with is helpful to make sure that the investment of time that you put into the process is as valuable as possible. So From that process, there's some simple tick boxes. We are doing our best to make this process as paper-free as possible. But in doing that, what we can do is you can have the application forms sent to you as a Word document, or you can go about finding all the forms that you need on the website. So yeah, automating things as much as we can. And of course, ticking a box if there's anything that you feel like you need extra support with. So the delightful Carol McEwen is very well versed in being able to help you through the process where needed. So effectively ticking the boxes, filling in that form is step one of the process. And you'll get an email back, which then sort of acknowledges your registration and gives you the chance to, I'll give you a link to take you through to the application page, which is, if we just pick the excellence in export and global supply chains, it will take you through to the application page for that particular submission. So here is we have tried to be as self-explanatory as possible. We've been running this award program for a really long time now. So every year we continue to try and evolve it, make it simpler, make sure that any frequently asked questions that we get asked along the way are addressed in the process. And what we've put here on the page for the specific criteria and categories that you're looking to enter is all the information that you could need to be able to apply. So there is definitions and guidelines, what that specific category is about, example information that's required, and importantly, this is actually a really important thing to consider. It outlines the criteria and the value that's associated to each particular element of the entry. So, you know, if I was spending time in crafting my response to each of these criteria, I would certainly be making sure that a lot of effort goes into section 3 of this particular award category, where that one's worth 15 out of the 60 particular points, versus the other sections, which are, you know, worth 5 or 10. So please don't miss that detail, because it really does make a big difference in the scoring if you're a little bit light on around the strategy that you were looking to apply for that particular category. That's I guess one of the take-home tips for you today. The other thing that I've learned, I guess, in my time in working with clients and also in entering awards programs myself, it's something that I do for my own business, is I guess I like to take the time to sit down and really think about my response to the category and the questions that need to be answered. So if only I give you, in this instance, my example, and then perhaps Brett and Tracy can talk to you about Molycop's approach. But again, in an attempt to be really make things as easy as possible for you, there is intentionally a Word document that you can download and look at the specific criteria that we need answered for the awards program. Now, the reason I think it's good to download the Word document and to take it away and to think about it is that in your own time, with your team, with the support of your manager or somebody else in the business that really understands, you know, the project or the program of work that you're referring to, you can go away and draft up your answers ahead of time, perhaps get it signed off by your manager or by the CEO within the business before you submit that. So it gives everybody a chance to provide some input. You don't need to submit, you don't need to sort of answer all of these questions within the Word document around your company name, address, etc., if you're going to use the online form submission. That's only if you decide for some reason that you need to submit it in another format. So it's just to keep everything all together. Where required, we've really highlighted as much information that we think you need to know as possible, the areas that cover off on within our region, well as the criteria that you need to address. So this is the important piece for me. And it's really, if I was personally responding to this particular award category, I'd be going away and starting to sort of put my bullet point thoughts and ideas into each of these sections before I craft my specific response to that particular category question. One of the things which I'm sure Michael will talk about as well is be mindful of the judges and really considerate of the fact that there's a lot of entries for them to be judging. So the more succinct that you can be, the more clear and pointed that you can be in your response and answering the questions, even if it's in a bullet point format, to keep things really tight and to really articulate your message quickly and succinctly. I think that's going to stand you in greater stead of being able to demonstrate your point for those particular questions. So in getting to the point that you have your answers crafted for each of the different criteria within that particular category, it's then a matter of going back onto the website where you go through the process of submitting the information through the system. I hope it's relatively self-explanatory and that most people these days are used to submitting online forms. The other point that I will flag, and I'm sure it will come up as well in a moment, is, the importance of supplementary material. There isn't a lot of space for you to be able to explain all that much in 200 words. So the ability to submit photos, videos, CAD drawings, testimonials from your client that was happy with the outcome of the project. They're all helpful information and can be submitted as a file. You can provide us a link to a Dropbox folder or upload information to one of the online, cloud-based platforms for us to be able to access, to make sure that you've submitted sort of a really rounded application process. Does anyone have any questions at this stage around the site and the categories that are available before I hand over to Brett and Tracy?
That was a really good step through, Jacqui. I think I learned a few things myself then.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Thanks, Brett.
I'm sure nothing learned for you, Tracy Sutherland, but it was certainly a nice step through for me, that's for sure.
Oh, good. Thank you.
And if I could just, I suppose, butt in a little, Jacqui, and take us back to the start around, the awards in general. Like it's from a Molycop perspective, we really use the awards night in particular as an opportunity to not only celebrate success, but you can't always win, so to speak. It's just that real acknowledgement of the effort and the time and the achievements that people have made, our teams have made throughout the year. And I know there's always a lot of positivity that comes back or feedback from those that are involved in the night. So that's from a business perspective. And I suppose more personally for me, having been involved in recent years, it's just remarkable. So, okay, great networking opportunity with, manufacturing businesses in the region, but just it still amazes me the insight into other businesses that are around and the capabilities that those businesses have that I just didn't know existed. So I think that's HMA has provided me, at least personally, with a really good platform to learn what other manufacturing industries and capability there is in the region. So that's just a bit of an insight, I suppose, into how Molycop utilise the awards and how it certainly HMA has benefited me as an individual as well.
Right.
From an application process itself, and Tracy Sutherland, I'm not going to steal any or much thunder here, but I think and I'll quickly hand over, Trace, but one of the things that really resonates with me that you've said in the past many times is, that allure to apply for everything, because there's a lot of aspects in the business that we do a lot of things well, and a lot of businesses do a lot of things well, but I think when you really succinctly talk about, hey, let's focus on the area or the two areas that we really want to put our efforts into the awards, it's been really good advice in the past, rather than trying to take everything out, so to speak, and spread your efforts really thin. So, Trace, have you got any specific feedback, mate, that you'd like to provide at this stage?
Yeah, thanks, Brett. Probably alluded to a lot of what Jacqui said was, using that Word document. That's a really valuable tool to, as you say, grab all your ideas and just drop them onto the Word document so that you've got them somewhere in place. And you've also then got a record, because once you submit your application online, it's gone. You don't really get something you can download to say that's what you submitted. So keeping that Word document, and particularly your final wording that you post to the online submission is good to have on hand. And also on that document, even make a note of what attachments you send in to accompany your submission. So you've got an idea of what you've used, because you may want to refer back to that later. And the only other thing, because I know the first few times I started pulling submissions together for Molycop, because as I said, we're all time poor, and I tried to sort of draft things up for the rest of the team to review and as you say, get their sign off and check that that's what the message that we want to put out there. Keeping it down to the 200 words was a real struggle for me. And I'm sure if you spoke to Carol or some of those earlier judges that we submitted to, they probably thought, oh, she's writing War and Peace. So yeah, it was as Jacqui said, get your ideas down to as many short dot points that have real value about the story you want to tell. And I have even at times dropped the section for each question into an empty Word document, just so I can keep track of my word count, because you'll get the little counter on a single word blank document, and you can make sure that you're keeping down to that 200 word mark, and also do a bit of punctuation and grammar editing to make it very succinct as Jacqui said. And then, just have some really valuable supporting documents. If you have a corporate video, or if you don't have a corporate video, it's good to get something on video that tells your story, because like anything, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So they're things that we've done at Molycop over the last couple of years, corporate videos, particularly around the sustainability projects and, the circular economy and some of those areas that we're working in at the moment. So we had those to tell the story, and they've been really valuable tools which we've used, in our submissions. And so I would say if you haven't got any videos, put some videos together. And if you don't have a spokesperson, it's take some time to work on that, or work with the team. As you say, even like Measured Marketer can probably help you out with that sort of thing. But it's really good to have a corporate video or something, to tell your story. And some video of your people. And as said, as Brett was saying, we often use the tables, the seating for the awards. We will invite not just staff or management. We'll make sure that we incorporate operations guys and some of the wages guys off the floor who are involved in the actual manufacturing process or out there on the floor, and use that as a reward and a recognition for them. So it's not all of them are comfortable, particularly a lot of them are don't have suits and ties or have formal wear, and again, if you want to invite them along and feel comfortable, we often will provide them with formal wear and go and cover the cost of hiring that. So it's a good way to recognize your workers, and then also making them feel comfortable in attending an event like this and them getting some value out of it. So and then that's feedback that goes back to the rest of you guys on the floor as well. So hope that helps.
Yeah, that's awesome, Tracy. And I suppose if I could just dive a little bit as well into the application process from the point of view of that whole, I've got a comment here around don't necessarily reinvent the wheel. So I know from a supportive documentation point of view, Trace, we've grabbed flyers that have been created for our business regardless in the past. So that's been ideal supporting documentation. It was just a few copies or a few example of those flyers were on the screen previously. We've done articles we've done both external articles in mining magazines and manufacturing magazines. So we've pulled that back in to use supporting documentation. And even at times our internal, so there can be questions like how do you communicate success or expectations, and we've provided also our internal flyers or what's the terminology, Trace, our internal,
internal communications, so and that's the thing too. I mean, being such a large company, when we have 500 employees here, so it's sometimes difficult to get communication across such a big plant, but it's important that everyone enjoys the success or realizes what we've achieved as a business, because they're all part of that success. So they all play a part in what we're achieving and what we're acknowledging when we're putting a submission in.
Absolutely.
So, and that's something I did make a note here. And obviously, as I said, once you've gathered all your notes and your comments, particularly in a business this size, if I was looking at doing a submission for the marketing, obviously I'm not a marketing person, so it's then depending on the category, going and finding out your subject expert in your business and tapping into their knowledge and getting the information. And then, if they're someone who's quite busy and time poor, at least they've provided you with the information, then wordsmith it for them and say, is this what you want? So it's working out, who's got the time to do the submissions, because they can take a bit of time thinking about it and putting your best case forward. I have done, as Jacqui said in the past, gone through and ticked all the boxes and then gone back to lovely Carol and gone, yes, we don't have time for that one, or we're not going to make that one. And Carol's been wonderfully patient with me over the past few years, so I can vouch for Carol's, customer service from Carol's is paramount. She's just wonderful. So she's very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Mind you, she cracks the whip at the times too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely too. She's got a silk glove.
For sure. And I suppose just last bit for me from the application process itself. So we're happy to share an example of an actual application, a successful application that we've made in the past. So whilst we can flash it up on the screen now, there's probably not a great deal of value in just scrolling through it. I think it might just add some value for people to be able to go, oh, well, I'd like to read through and understand how succinct the message was or was not, and what was the guts of it, so that you can maybe tailor your own application. So we might even have a link at some stage, Jacqui, on the website to be able to link to that sustainable operations application, and people can use it as much or as little as they like.
That's a very generous offer. Thank you. Thank you for your input, and also, we do know that you've been submitting award entries for the last couple of years. So yeah, it's a real pleasure to have you here and talk us through the process that you've been through. Thanks, Tracy, as well. We might hand over to Michael now. He's our head judge at the Hunter Manufacturing Awards, just to maybe get his insights and thoughts around what the judges are looking for, some of the tips that you might be able to take away from him. So thanks for being here, Michael.
A pleasure. So folks, I think I've been involved for about 8 or 9 years yet. Forgive my little assistant here. The kids have all left home now, so my wife decided we need another baby. So every time I sit down, she climbs up for a snuggle. So it's more demanding than the 5 kids were, I think. There are some very clear and distinct attributes of the winning applications that I've seen over those years. The first is that I can tell they actually read the application. There's a very clear alignment between the evidence that was requested and the responses that are provided. And I could get out a pencil and I could go through every one of the criteria and I can see that there's a specific response for every one of those items. And that's the first thing. And why I say that, I think sometimes people forget the context of what's happening here. They, particularly those with not a lot of experience, they see it as a need to sort of promote their business, to sort of sell how great it is. And what they're forgetting is they're actually being asked to provide evidence against a very specific set of criteria. So there's a very big difference between those two types of responses that come in. And every year we still get the former where people are really trying to just sell how great their business is. And I love it. They're passionate about what they do, but they're missing the point. They've been asked to provide very specific evidence. Unless they do that, they're not giving themselves a chance to shine on the night. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you, and I'm a bit old school, I will literally print the form off if I'm applying for myself or a client, and I'll literally tick them off or put a ruler through them as I know that we've gathered the evidence for that specific item. So the winners always do that extremely well. All of the elements in the criteria have all been covered. Secondly, they are able to do it without overcooking the marketing hype, if you like. They stick to very straightforward, precise language, which contains a lot more facts than fluff. And they do provide depth of evidence to support it. There's charts, there's graphs, there's videos, photos, testimonials, and particularly the best ones provide evidence of outcomes. So we did this, and guess what? We increased our revenue by 25%, or we reduced our failure rate or rework rate by, you know, precise numbers. So you're really getting a clear picture of exactly what's going on in that business. All the judges will talk about the fact that at times they may know something about that business and they find themselves being trapped into filling gaps in the information because of that knowledge that sits outside the application form. The best applications don't make judges fill in gaps. It's all there. So tightly aligned to the criteria, clear and concise, but with great depth of evidence then to support the statements that they make. So there's a number of layers to those really top-notch responses. So that's a short grab, I guess, of the critical elements.
Thanks, Michael. And I guess just listening to sort of your comments, one thing that I think is really important for everyone to know is in submitting an application, all of the information provided is absolutely confidential. Yep. Unless, you know, there's a discussion had beforehand. There's no information published on any website. You know, the reasons that when the judges provide comments around a business or an organization that's won, it's all relatively high level. So please feel free to sort of really demonstrate that evidence and give the information and the data that's being requested, because it isn't going anywhere beyond the judge that's involved. And I think it really makes a big difference.
I think, Jacqui, to those who are concerned about putting actual numbers in, you don't need to do that. We'll all say, just tell us about the percentage improvement. That's all we need to know. Yeah. You know, we don't need to know whether it was 20 million or 10 million, but if you've achieved an improvement of 15% profitability, that's the number that counts. And you're not giving away any confidential information about your business. You're just stating, still factually, evidence of an improvement that you've achieved.
Yeah. And perhaps the other comment, sort of in listening to your feedback, is the standard in which the information is provided. You know, we actually don't need a professional corporate video necessarily. No. If you've got a video on your camera of the production process that you're referring to, or, you know, that's enough to demonstrate the impact of that, of the entry that you're submitting. So again, this isn't going to be published in any public forum, and it's only going to help the judges understand the reasons why you've submitted an entry for that criteria. So I think they're two extra things that perhaps aren't particularly clear and are worth noting when you're thinking about your submission. So great. Well, there are a few of you here online live now, which is really great. Thank you for sticking around with us. Does anybody have any questions of us? Really, this is the chance for you to come to us with questions that you might have. So we'll open it up for chat. Crickets.
I'd just make a comment, Jacqui, that the board of HMA do not see the applications either. They're received by Carol. They are then distributed to the relevant judges. They hold on to it, they process it. The board has never seen them, so it's extremely confidential.
And they're deleted then, Stephen, once the judging's over, so we don't hold copies.
Yep. Thanks, Michael.
So I'm on chat as well. So if anyone wants to send a question through via the chat, feel free to do so. Who's thinking of applying? Who's not submitted their registration yet, but planning on doing so?
Jacqui, Lip Organics are planning on applying. We would love to be involved. Just one question about the awards night. Are applicants able to purchase tickets as well, or is it strictly for final nominees? Or
no, this is an open event, so anybody is welcome to purchase a ticket to come on the night. Usually we let those that are on our mailing list, so, you know, make sure you go onto our website and sign up to our mailing list. Our mailing list and finalists will hear about the awards program and when tickets are going on sale first. But we would love to have you and as many of your team there on the night if you'd like to bring some clients along. It really is a lovely celebration. We hold the event at Nex in Newcastle because it's the biggest venue in the region, in the area. So we do hope to have up to 500 of you there on the night on Friday the 28th of October.
Wonderful, thank you.
Great.
Great question, Tracy, too.
Yeah, thank you. J&S Engineering have not yet registered, but will be applying. Thanks, Luke. Look forward to seeing your application. Well, not seeing your application come through, but knowing that it's coming through. Siren Holdings are going to enter this year, Tracy.
Yes. We didn't apply last year because we wanted to sponsor. We didn't want it. I don't know, just ethically, it felt better that we didn't apply, just in case we won the category that we were sponsoring, which is our every intention this year. So this is hence why we've gone with the video sponsor, because it means we can take them all out, you know. No, but in all seriousness, we've got a really good team and they've got a lot to say about what's been going on here. So it makes total sense to apply. And looking at the list of categories, there's really only probably 2 or 3 that aren't applicable to what's happened for us in this last 12 months. So just, again, something else that we always get out of this process when we do it is we learn so much more about ourselves, and we remember stuff that we've just been so busy doing, and we forget to write it down. We've just been through 2 diagnostics, for example, one on state sustainability and one on WHS. And we just, because of how we roll with everything that we do here, we don't always think to just write it down into a policy or a procedure or a document of any sort. So capturing, and thank God it's not all up to me to do it this time, because it's usually down to me to do every damn category. And Greg and I are usually cobbling it together over a weekend before the deadline. But we started early this year. So we have actually registered. And my advice to the team has been to actually start collecting the evidence now. So two wise words that I've heard today on the dropping it into the document, the word guide. So you're collecting your thoughts as you go. Don't worry about editing for now. Just start dropping it in. You can cull it back later. And also just that wonderful piece of advice on the actual numbers not being necessary, because I think we do sweat about that sometimes. How do we quantify? How do we prove? And percentages are a lot easier to quantify. So, there's two others involved in the process of applying this year other than just myself. So, three had to be better than one, and hopefully, fingers crossed, looking forward to it.
Yeah, great to have you involved. And if you keep an eye on the Hunter Manufacturing Awards social media channels over the next couple of weeks, you'll actually see a little interview that Tracy and I conducted. Siren Holdings won the marketing category a couple of years back. So yeah, thank you for partaking, and great to see you entering the awards again this year.
Thanks.
Very good. Anyone else on the session that's got any questions before we wrap up? Well, thank you all very much, and thank you to those that are watching at a later time. It's been a pleasure to talk you through the process, and we very much look forward to having you involved in the awards this year. Thanks to my fellow panel members today for the workshop. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Tracy. All the Tracys are here today. We're well represented. And look forward to seeing you all dressed up on the 28th of October later this year. So take care, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks for putting it on.
Thanks, Jacqui.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Jacqui.
Bye all.